In space, Peter and Nebula are in the Manano, playing finger football. Peter shoots and Nebula attacks it. You don't need to do that, you know, Peter says, trying to explain the rules to her. Because you're just holding the position. Nebula tried to throw a goal and misses. That was a good try. She tries some more and gets one. There we go. Now we're one apiece, Peter says. I would like to try again, Nebula says, actually enjoying it. They keep playing, and they end getting a score each. Now we are tied. Feel the tension? Peter tries making another one and fails. Nebula shoots and scores. Great, you won. Peter says, holding his hand out. You have fun? He asks, as Nebula shakes his hand. It was fun, she says, not used to winning anything. Peter's at the front of the ship with the last of the Iron Man suit that wasn't damaged in the nanotech holder. He pushes a button and it scans him. Is this thing on? Peter asks, making sure it still works. Hey, if anyone finds this recording, please give it to the remaining heroes on Earth, if there are any. They'll know who to give the message to. He says as he lays against the seats. So I guess I should start with saying, Aunt May, I'm sorry. But if you find this recording, don't feel bad about it. I don't even know if you, Ned, or MJ are gonna see this. I'm not even sure if any of you survived. He says, trying not to cry at the fort. God, I hope you're still all there. Today would be day 21, maybe, of me reenacting gravity. Get it? 'Cause I'm stranded? Yeah, I know Ned would laugh. He says, laughing at his own joke. Well, I guess even the thought of death can't stop my witty attempts of humor, as MJ would call it. You know, if it weren't for the thought of dying from the lack of oxygen, or food, water, and fuel, staring into a literal void of space, I'll say I'm feeling a little better today. Despite the fact my metabolism is trying its best to kill me itself, and since it's been a while since the whole half of the universe was killed, and since Mr. Stark died. I've been taken care of thanks to the blue meanie that's been helping. Pretty sure she said her name was Nebula. Not to be rude of not remembering, but being lack of oxygen, I can't think straight. You'd love her, and some of the few cracked when we were in battle with Thanos. We were able to fix it and bought us maybe 2 days worth of flight. He sighs. But it's now finished, since it was maybe a week ago. Thousands of light years from Mr. Delmar's sandwiches. Oxygen will run out around tomorrow morning. The last owners of the ship didn't take care of the ship that well, so we're also cleaning up their mess. I know I said after you figured out I was Spider-Man, I said there will be no more surprises, but I was hoping I'll be able to pull off one last surprise on myself. But it looks like I should have just stayed on the bus. May, I know you're gonna blame yourself, but don't do that. It wasn't your fault. You and Ben raised me to always do the right thing. With great power comes great responsibility, as he always said. He starts smiling at the thought of his past uncle. He starts falling asleep. I should go rest for a minute. Rest my eyes. I've been working non-stop, and I don't have you here to tell me when enough is enough. And I need to sleep. Man, I never thought I'd miss that. Know that when I drift off, it's like every night. I'm fine. Completely fine. I miss you, May. I miss all you guys. Yeah, even Flash, I'll admit. He reaches over and turns off the helmet. Peter reaches over and places his jacket back on and lies down. Later, he finally falls asleep as Nebula walks in and sees him on the floor. She picks him up and lays him in one of the seats. Thanks, Nebs, Peter says, half asleep. Nebula holds his shoulder for a second and walks away. Peter starts drifting off again when a shining light comes in the front of the ship. Peter starts opening his eyes and sees Captain Marvel. What do you know? Five-Finger Death Punch was right, he says, seeing Carol. God's a woman, he says, smiling. Carol sees him alive and smiles at seeing she wasn't too late. Back at the Avengers compound, Bucky is shaving his beard off as the bathroom starts shaking. Outside, Carol is carrying the Nano, and the remaining Avengers come out with Pepper, Happy, and Nick Fury as they see her park the ship. The ship doors open and they expect to see Tony, only to see Nebula carrying a barely conscious Peter. T'Challa, recognizing the boy from the fight in Limp Sync, runs up to help Nebula with him. He takes him from her and sees how pale he is. I couldn't stop him, Peter grasps to say. Neither could we. Peter, he says, trying to calm him. I lost Mr. Stark, he says, trying not to cry. Peter, we all lost, he says, comforting him. Happy runs up to Peter. Hey kid, you gave your aunt a scare. We thought you were gone, Happy says, and sees Peter light up at hearing his aunt is still alive. Is she? He tries to speak, but can't. I'll tell her we found you when we get you checked out. You don't look so good. Inside, they put Peter on some medication to help him as he waits for his aunt to arrive after Happy called her. They have the list of all the dead and the fallen Avengers, and Peter was happy to see that none of his friends were on the list. It's been 23 days since Thanos came to Earth. Sam starts off. The world's governments are in pieces. The ones that are still working are trying to make a census, and it looks like he did exactly what he said he was going to do. Wanda says, and Peter looks at a picture of Tony that appeared on the list. Thanos wiped out 50% of all living people. She finishes. Do we even know where he ran to? Peter asked, really wanting to give Thanos a piece of his mind. We don't know, Spider-Kid, Bucky says. He just opened a blue vortex or something and walked right through, Bucky finished. Peter looks over and sees Thor sulking in the corner, away from them. What's wrong with him? Peter asked. Oh, he's pissed. Peter turns the wheelchair he's in and sees Rocket. Thinks he failed, which of course he did. But you know, there's a lot of that going around, ain't there? Rocket says, looking at Peter. Okay, now there's a talking raccoon, Peter comments on Rocket. And there's a talking corpse, Rocket comments on Peter's condition. We've been hunting Thanos for 3 weeks now, T'Challa says. Deep space scans, even using the inferior technology the rest of the world is using. Even our advanced Wakanda technology, and we still have nothing, Shuri says, disappointed. Fury decides to speak up. Parker, you fought him. Now who said that? Peter asks Nick. It certainly wasn't me. How could you possibly know that? You tell him that? He asks, looking at Nebula, and she shakes her head. He starts chuckling. He thinks me, the scrawny kid from Queens, was able to fight a gigantic Hulk-like monster. No offense, Dr. Banner. Because guess what? I didn't. Peter said, getting frustrated he wasn't getting some time to mourn the few friends he did lose, and losing his mentor and father figure.